Welcome to the aftermath is the epidemic of custody. We always talk about parental alienation, divorce, and healing. This is Mick, the Doctor of Digital Smith, and also Kindra Reiber, co-parenting mentor. How are you today, Kindra?
I am wonderful, Mick.
Fantastic. I thought we'd get together. We have a special, I'm going to call it the Christmas slash Hanukkah edition because we want to make sure that people are getting through the holidays and we wanted to say something about the holidays.
Yes, and don't forget the new year. That's like right around the corner too.
That's
So, well,
true.
another slash the new year.
Okay, another slash there. No reference to Guns N' Roses, but I guess it's a slash thing. And we probably won't have a New Year's edition, so this will probably be it until we get into January. But of course, we do have some great guests coming up in January, so I want to make sure people are listening because we can't wait to get to January too. We got some people that are lined up for January as well. So this is the aftermath. Purpose of the show is to educate and to inspire you. Everything that is wrong with families today are the hard topics that we discuss. Both of us have been subjected to the harsh reality and trauma of custody battles, but of course, we have not been alone, especially once we started the podcast. So, if you have listened to the aftermath, hopefully you benefit from it. Make sure that you subscribe, you like, you share, and positively review us on Apple Podcasts. I want to mention because we always try to shout out our supporters and those who have sponsored us. JC, Dr. Remember him, the Dragon Dornick. He's got a new book that's coming out, and that's called Makes Sense. I like that title. It's launching in February. And the Make Sense Academy, he has also created along those lines as well. And this is for mentorship, growth, and self development, focus and growth mastermind. And of course, he's going to have also monthly sources and courses available for people. So we thank again anybody who has supported us or sponsored us throughout the last year. So we'll be back in a moment. Welcome to The Aftermath, a podcast that rips the Band-Aid off the collective scars of divorce, custody battles, and the trauma of family drama. Kindra Reiber and Mick Smith pull back the curtain and explore stories that put the heart-wrenching puzzle pieces together with inspiring stories, notable experts, and actionable tips. Let the healing begin. Welcome back to the Aftermath podcast. And before we go too far, remember, Kendra, I wanted to mention this. You were telling us something about Texas, right? And isn't there a documentary that's out there? And isn't there somebody featured in that? It's called We the Parents. Is that right?
That's right, Mick. And yes, you're going to call me out on that. And I don't brag on that, but it is a platform that I use to tell my story and for the purpose of changing the law. And that is really what a lot of us parents came together to do. So it's called We the Parents Film. It is a documentary and it is being privately shown right now to different state houses around the US.
And we're active in trying to get some legislative support and change. And apparently, you can ask for it. Is that right? You can get it to your local community. So maybe some people are listening would also like to get that documentary in their local community, as they have in Texas and Ohio, apparently.
Yes, you can. So if you have a small group of people that you want to show it to, even outside the state house or outside of lawmakers, please feel free, reach out, email us, and yeah, we'll connect you so that you can get that link and you can show it.
That sounds good because one of the things that we want to talk to is to have resources or help and assistance. That's why I always say for the title of the podcast, I like that part we say healing because the whole point that we're trying to get to, of course, is that we got the trauma part, but how about if we get to what they call on Instagram, the good part, right? Let's get to that part. So one of the things that we want to talk about was the holidays and getting through Christmas and Hanukkah and New Year's.
Yes, definitely. And make a lot of times for a lot of families, this is a very joyous season. We see lots of posts on social media talking about Instagram, Facebook. And I think for parents of parental alienation, it's really hard to see that. So, first, we'll start out by saying that limit your time on social media because it's going to do nothing but depress you, because there's going to be
Mm.
families together and looking at that. And if you're not you reunited with your children, that's going to be very hard on you. So limit your social media interaction.
And one of the things that you can do this is also because I've done some research on sleep as well. It's not a good idea to be on social media before you go to sleep because that will often disturb you. And there's some of the images and things that are on there which are not the best to be thinking about. So I do agree. We want to make sure you're limiting some of your social media intake.
Yes. And Christmas and Hanukkah and the New Year is all just a day, right? It doesn't have to be that specific day. If you don't have your children that day, maybe you get them a week later. Maybe you get them a few days before. Maybe you're alternating. One gets Christmas Eve and one gets Christmas Day. It doesn't have to be that day that you celebrate. It has to be on Christmas. Make your own day. Make your own special day with your kids. Start your own memories. Do different things. Don't be because it's just that day and because our culture really enforces that we have to accept that because of our situation. And the kids don't know any different, right? That was always one thing I told my kids. I said, now you get to have two Christmases and two birthday celebrations, and I try to make it fun and enjoyable for them too.
I think so because people always ask me things like, when's your birthday? And I go, you get to be my age and we don't celebrate birthdays anymore. So it really doesn't matter. So what I tell everybody, my birthday is January 1st. It's not really on January 1st, but that way I get prepared for that time of the day when it is my birthday during the year. And I'm already used to being calling myself a year older. But you're exactly right. For a child, if you are saying things like Christmas and it's got to be Christmas Day, it could be any day, especially if a child is younger. They're not watching a calendar and they don't know exactly what day it is. And the day is to be celebratory and the day is to be joyous. And it's up to us with our attitudes and our words and our things that we are doing to prepare a child or children for a great day. So make it any day that you want. Call
Mhm.
it Christmas. They're going to be enjoying it just the same.
Yeah, agreed. Great points. I always round up on my age too. So that's funny that we do that. And I didn't know that about you till just now. So I'm sitting here laughing. And as we get older, my sister, hers is in January, and I'm going to give her birthday present for Christmas. So she's going to get a combined present. So yeah, she's not going to really have a day with me either. And so let's talk about maybe the parents that aren't seeing their children at all, that are are gonna struggle through the holidays, maybe the next 2 weeks. Maybe you haven't seen your children in a long time like myself for 3 years now. I think it's okay to take a break. If you're in the middle of it and it's really intense right now, maybe it's court, maybe it's arguing with your ex, maybe it's filing complaints, maybe it's just an emotional problem for you, right, as you're going through and nothing's with the courts, but it's just emotional for you. It's okay to take a step back during this time because the courts are going to close down for roughly 2 weeks, right? Nothing's really going to happen. So you might
Mhm.
just take a step back from the courts, from the emotion, from the drama, maybe from trying to reach out to the children, maybe send them a text or whatever it is, for Christmas. But take a step back and just focus on you. It's okay to say, I need a break. I took a whole year break almost, right? I sent cards, but I wasn't emotionally involved for that whole time. And I feel like I'm rejuvenated and I'm ready to go again because I took that break. So it doesn't even just have to be a short break, it can be a long break. But don't just say, I'm quitting on the kids or I can't do this anymore. It's too hard because what I said was I'm redirecting it. I'm doing something different than what I was doing before, but I'm not quitting on the situation, but I'm taking a break and I'm resetting. Maybe that's a good word to use, resetting.
And I think that's again, I tie in with things like sleep, right? So I'm one of those people, I try to exercise, try to eat right, get enough sleep and everything. I look at the basics, and that's so important because if you are stressed and if you are constantly brought down with worry and stress, there's things that happen as a result. And that means stress, lack of sleep leads to sickness. And if you want to stay healthy for yourself, and you care for your children, that's exactly what you're going to do. You have to stay strong and healthy. And the way to do that is to look out after yourself and look at kinds of things that you need. So, whatever things that you get that are joyous and happy, that's where you take a break and concentrate on those things. So, it's like redirecting or switching and taking a different tack rather than doing this like I'm going to be constantly worried and brought down and fraught with anxiety because it's not worth it. You're hurting yourself and you're ultimately hurting the people that are around you and especially the people that you care for. And it's the little ones.
Yeah, that's so true. And I actually 6 months ago, I told myself because I wasn't getting a whole lot of sleep, and so that was my focus. That was my goal for the next 6 months was to sleep. So I had been working out for about a year, but I was sleeping because I was so involved in it. My body got used to going to bed at like 11 o'clock because I would work during the week, during all day, and then I would start my side type of hustle, I guess, as far it's not a hustle because I wasn't making money, but it was my side job because it was basically preparing for court, right? Preparing my attorney, getting involved in it, going over court documents, things like that. And that's what I would do in the evening. So then my mind was just racing. So I wouldn't go to bed till about 11. Then I would sleep for about 3 hours and then I would wake up wide awake for the next 3 or 4 hours. And I maybe got one more hour sleep before I had to wake up. And so it's a really bad pattern. Like you said, it can lead to chronic illness. It's horrible for us. So my resolution 6 months ago was I was going to get better sleep. So I started not having my phone by the bed, exactly what you're saying. I took NyQuil Z's when I went to sleep and I made sure that I wanted to get 8 hours. Like that was my 7 or 8 hours, and that was my focus. And so I didn't get up in the middle of the night and look at my phone, and I just focused on just sleeping. That was really what I wanted to focus on. And now I like just like last night, I woke up, I was like, I just slept 7 hours straight. That was great. So it's huge for us. And I think when you're so emotionally involved and when you are dealing with the court system and when you're dealing with your children and you have all this stress, it's just something we don't think about and we just keep going on no sleep and that's not healthy.
There's so what we need is that's deep sleep or REM sleep. So for the people who always say things, or there are people who say, I never dream. No, actually you do because we all dream, but the dreams are taking place during REM sleep or deep sleep, and you have to get to that point. The problem with not sleeping enough, of course, is that you don't reach that stage. The importance of those stages of deep sleep and REM sleep are actually that's where the body is rejuvenating itself. So it's absolutely critical that you get to that point. So when you're cutting out on your sleep time, that means that you're not getting that rejuvenation and we need to rest. So it's resting and then go back and do what you have to do during the day. I'm one of those people, I concentrate on sleeping too and sleeping right. So I do all the things I can physically and mentally during the day. And then when it's time for sleep, social media goes away. There's no television, there's no electronics, there's no distractions, and you sleep because it's really important. And then your body will heal itself during the day. That's how the body is set up to do. So, really
Yes.
important. Get enough sleep.
Yes. It's funny. I don't know if you do, but I have this whole routine before bed. I wash my face, brush my teeth, then I put on my I call it my anxiety blanket, but it was like it's what my weighted blanket on the bed, and I take my 2 little NyQuil Z's, and I'm like decompressing, and I journal, and then I'm that's my routine. I have a routine every night.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that is really good for sleep, it's not that the reading is boring, but reading is one of those very relaxing kinds of things. So a lot of people do read before they go to sleep or to go to bed because it does. It calms the body down, it calms the mind down, and you're thinking about things enough to relax. And that's what's really important. So that's a good admonition. I'm not quite sure I do all of the same things, but I do have a ritual.
Yeah,
So,
and you're right. Reading's great, but I got to a point where I was reading maybe one page of my Kindle and it would hit me on the face, and I'm like, "Oh," and it would wake me up because I was sleeping because I didn't even make it through one page on my Kindle. But yeah, that and it helps too because it's changing our mindset from what we've been thinking about all day. It puts
mhm.
us in a different environment, and I think that helps us too.
Yeah, and that's people like me, since I love to read, that's what exactly it is. It opens up doors. When I was a kid and I liked reading so much, and I said it opens up so many vistas of things that you're not doing, but it opens up to see. And I liked history, so I was like, I'm thinking about something completely different because I was playing little
Yes.
league when I was a kid. I'm certainly not talking about living in ancient Rome, but I love to read about it because it's just
Yeah.
completely different and it's completely opposite of what you have to think about. And if you're concerned about things and worrying about things, the best thing you do is get your mind on something completely different. That's what reading is so helpful.
Yeah. Good point. So, Mick, a few minutes ago, you said something that I want to go back to, and you said
Right?
it's okay to be happy. So, what did you mean by what you were saying there?
I think it's allowing us permission, right? So if you feel obligated, let's I remember like saying, okay, when I was a full-time single father, especially, but when I also watching a daughter when she was a baby, I was one of those people, I was fanatical. I had the baby monitor, right? So every 10 minutes I'm checking, is she still breathing? Is she breathing? I'm like, I was paranoid about it because I had read about, the sudden death syndrome for a baby, and that's like it played it with my mind. So there were things that saying, okay, you can be happy too. And that's part of the detachment process that allow yourself to be happy and allow yourself to have the joy or things that you enjoy and things that you like to do. And it's giving yourself permission. And it's really hard sometimes when you're thinking about a child or children because you're concerned about them and you have to detach there mentally and then be happy. Do the things that you need to do to make yourself happy or joyous, and then you're better prepared to do the things that you have to do and deal with the what I call slaying dragons on a daily basis. Got to slay my
Yes.
dragons every single day because they're coming. I know that, but
Yep.
I have to balance it with some fun things and things that I enjoy doing.
Yeah. I know we're both faith driven people, and we talk about our children and that God blessed us with children, but I don't think God meant for our whole lives to revolve around the children. And I think when you are in parental alienation and you're in the midst of it and you're deep in it, that's all you can think about. But I
Mhm.
really do think, again, you have to pull yourself back out of that. And it's okay to be happy and move on, we'll say, in loose terms with life. It's okay to have a relationship outside of this. It's okay to have your activities that you do. I love working out. I love being around horses. I love hiking. I
Mm.
love boating. So, have your activities that you can still do by yourself or with friends. Go out with friends. Enjoy life. I don't think God meant for us to go through these turmoils and not enjoy life. What I was thinking about actually today as I was driving is I think maybe God is helping us. Maybe he didn't put us in this turmoil, but maybe he wants us to learn something from it. And so I was reflecting on what I need to take away from this and how I've grown over the time and how I can be a better parent after this.
Yeah, and that always reminds me of this famous phrase that which does not kill me helps me grow. So there are people who, when they are confronted with some sort of issue, and I appreciate the concept about being faith based, it's not so much what things happen to you that you should be saying, why me? It's more the way I approach it is very philosophical. It's like, sooner or later, it's my turn. That's how I look at it.
Yeah,
It's
that's a
just,
great way to look at it.
it's my turn. Yeah, there are bad times and there are good times, but when they come, I'm not saying so much, why me? I'm human, so it's going to happen to me just like it does to everybody else. What I'm also trying to focus on, I think it's more important, is what do I do and what's my reaction and attitude towards something bad and unfortunate that happened? Because that's what is in my control. There's so many people say, how come? And there's I'm out of control. Well, we're giving some daily examples. You're in control of your sleep, which is what we had been talking about, right? There's nobody
Yep.
else who is disturbing you and keeping you up. You're in control of that. So if it's important for you, then control that aspect of it. Whatever it is that you do, and I appreciate again the physical things, the active things like I like to hike and to walk. So when I'm walking and hiking, I'm doing something physical. But yeah, if I had a boat, I'd be boating. And I
Yeah.
had been on horses. I love horses. So those are things
Just to be clear, Mick, I don't have either one of those. I have friends.
I thought I was going to come over and we're going to ride the horse and then we'll take your boat out and on the lake. But
Nope,
you know,
not that lucky. Sorry.
someday you're on your way to being famous. So when you get there,
But
just
yeah,
invite
yeah.
me.
When I buy my boat, I'll let you know.
Okay. But it's those things that are physical, and I agree. It's saying that it's not that God should puts these things on you, and that's the person who says why me and how come and God sent it to me. No, it's just a part of the human condition that it just happens to be this time. Because there's a saying that says the rain falls on the just and the unjust alike. Exactly. Rain is going to fall. It's not going to
Mhm.
pick out who's the good people and who's the bad people. Things are going to happen. And philosophically, I'm telling you, one of the things that I'm really sincere about when saying that which does not kill me helps me grow. There are things that happen to you. This may be the worst thing that ever happened to you. Well, it also makes it easier in life then, right? Because then you start looking at it like, okay, well, I did this and went through it. I survived. So, other things that are really bad or traumatic, I'm also going to survive those things as well.
Yeah. And I think too, I was thinking the other day, I've done a lot of thinking, Mick, if you haven't noticed. I keep referring to my thinking. But I was doing some thinking on the parents that are in it right now that have the children. When I was in that role, and maybe when you were in that role, I was so busy with the children that I never had a chance to step back and evaluate my parenting skills. We all make mistakes as parents. There's no guide, right? We're going to make mistakes and wish we didn't do this or wish we did this or we spent more time with the children reading books or singing songs or maybe didn't go to the grocery or reprioritized our lives so we could spend more time with them. And the people that are in it and doing life with their kids right now, our ex partner or ex spouse or whatever, whoever's causing the parental alienation, they're in it so much with the kids, they don't get to step back and evaluate themselves. Maybe in this time when it's horrible that we're going through, let's evaluate ourselves as a parent and say, what could I do better? Because I truly do believe that most of these children are going to come back around when they grow up or within a couple years if you're fighting through the court system and they're young right now. So, how can you be the best parent when they come back and really reflecting on, oh, what could I have done better? What do I want to do different this time? Because I think that's an opportunity that we have that the other parent doesn't.
Yeah, that comes down to saying things like what we would advocate. It's the 50-50 approach that the child always needs both parents. And what the parent who has custody of the child or children could be thinking of that and saying, what could I be doing better and improve myself in co-parenting with that other person? And that is a time of reflection. And I think holidays are a great time because you have to put yourself in their shoes because as you suggest, there's a time when they're going to have the child or children, and there's a time when they are not going to have the child or children. Therefore, you're also going to be in the spot where you won't always have them. And what are you going to do? It's a great opportunity to self reflect and to think about yourself and think about better communication. I think that would probably be key. Communicate better with the kids and better to communicate with the spouse as well to improve their situation. Like I'm always thinking it's the best interest of the child. Take that seriously. What is and what would be in the best interest of the child or children?
Yeah, good point, Mick. Very good point. And you bring up probably our last point that we wanted to make on this podcast today, but you talked about reflecting and during the holidays. And so I think as we move into the new year, we talk about resolutions and maybe even a vision board. What do we foresee or what do we want our life to look like with our children this next coming year? What do you see with that? Do you see maybe you have a room for your children that they haven't been in a year? What maybe you have a vacation that you want to plan with them. Maybe you have I don't know, what does that look like? What is your vision? What is your vision board? And not just for your children, but for yourself, right? We're talking about a lot of reflecting. So, what are you going to put on your vision board that rewards you for the work that you've put in and you've even grown during this time? So how are you going to reward yourself and what do you see coming in the next year and start setting some goals. So,
I'm always reminded of a scripture that I like to quote, and that is, without a vision, the people perish from Isaiah. And I go, yes. What would you think about for 2024? And what would be a vision for the next year? If things didn't go so well this year, what would you do differently? What would you say differently? And how could things be better if you envision and anticipate a better year for 2024?
mhm. And they don't have to be big goals either, right? They can be little milestones. Maybe you want to read 3 books this year so you're growing. Maybe you want to focus on sleep like I did, right? For the last 6 months. Maybe you just want to get that 7 or 8 hours sleep and that's what you're focusing on. They don't have to be huge, expensive, elaborate vision boards, right? It could just be baby steps. It can be you haven't maybe reached out to your children in a year or so. Maybe you send them a couple things through the year, letters, or reach out on social media, or maybe you try again and set those little baby steps because your heart's been preparing for this. And so maybe that's the next step and that's what you're doing this year.
And I like it because I see you on Facebook sometime doing things about what happened in the past and remembering those joyous occasions. And I really like them. And I wasn't there, but I'm saying I really can see what you're focusing in on. You're focusing on the positive things, you're focusing on the upbeat kinds of things and good memories. And that's something that no one can take away from you or from your children. If you
Mhm,
have created a good memory for them and a good and loving environment, they're going to appreciate that. That's a
mhm.
wonderful idea.
Oh, thank you, Mick. Yes, I do share some of those on there on my social media. And I think too that maybe people can, I put together little mini clips on YouTube with just memories of videos and different things scrolling back through. So rather than scrolling through social media and taking, time to look at everybody else's memories that they're making, but create little videos and put them on a YouTube page for your children to find as well. You can always do that. So I've done that.
Awesome. Some great ideas.
Yeah, yeah. Just dropping a few nuggets here tonight, Mick.
Okay. We're dropping a few nuggets here and there, and hopefully that's helpful for people as well.
Yes, yes. Mick, it's been an absolute pleasure. Do you have anything to wrap us up and talking about the holidays and the new year?
I hope everybody enjoys it, and it's supposed to be joyous. So I want to have a joyous occasion and a joyous Christmas, and I wish everybody else to as well. And likewise for you and yours, Kendra, enjoy.
Thank you. You too, Mick.
So if you have listened to the aftermath, hopefully you benefit from it. Make sure that you subscribe, you like, you share, and positively review us on Apple Podcasts. That helps us a great deal. So thanks for listening in. Until next time, we're going to have a phenomenal 2024 and coming up in January, some great guests. So make sure you check in for next time, and we'll see you next year. Until then, Deus Volt.